Hey guys, you already know who it is. Okay. Okay, so today is what, the 19th? Okay, and not any of you guys obviously are not astrology. And it's today. Today is a big day. So today is the new moon in Aries. We have the solar eclipse today as well. Today is the actual official day of like Pluto in Aquarius or New Age in Aquarius, which is like a new 19-year mark of all of our lives, basically. So from what was it? April of 2004 to literally like yesterday, being like from all of then, just think like all of the things that have happened from 2004 to now is literally that life has been a build up to what's coming for the next 19 years. And it's just crazy because I look at my life and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today on the video, because I just want to show where my experience has gone. And I know I've talked a lot about this in a bunch of my videos, but to see it all come together and literally, I feel like when like Pluto and Aquarius it wasn't fully yet because today is like the actual day, like feeling it. But when it, came in March 23rd, it was like a few days before that, I started getting like weird insights. And it was almost like predictions in my own life. And it sounds weird, but it's like, it's weird because I checked the things out and it was and I was right. It's weird it's weird. I don't know. It was weird to check them out and I was right because there was a feeling about, and I'm not even going to say anything about this. All I'm going to say is there was feeling about this person that I know is going to be a part of my life in the future. I don't know like specifically how that's going to all like work out, but I just know that this person's going to be in my life specifically. But I knew this before I checked their chart. And I was like, I looked and Googled their, birth chart and everything. And I was like, I know this person. Like I've known them before because I'm not kidding you. I looked it up and I was completely 100%. And it was actually even more of a confirmation of what I knew. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. And it's not just even that. It was more things that started coming up in my life, like a little, I don't know, like when you find like little things, I don't know the saying for it, but like when you find like little treasures of things, or when you find something that's lost and it's like, oh, that's how it's been feeling for me since almost a month now. And it's only been little things. And it'll just pop in my head and I'll go, oh, okay. And then it just makes more sense for me. And literally as well, the last 3 weeks, I'm not kidding you, from like the last 19 years to now for me, has now finally all made sense. Every single little piece that's happened in my life, person, thing, I now understand all of it. Maybe not every single thing, but pretty much it all makes almost all sense to why I had to go through certain things, why certain people are in my life, why certain people left, all of these things. And it is unbelievable just how crazy. It's just crazy. Yeah. And I know that this new moon and solar eclipse has been kind of fucking with people. I know a lot of it's been a lot of self-worth shit. And I've kind of known this already. I've already known something was off the last 3 years, in one part of my life. And I know that I was talking about, oversharing, and like people always tell me that I either overshare or I do too much, or I say, and here's the thing is, I may not, who cares? But that's the whole point, is like, I have to talk and do different things. And for me to learn what works for me, what doesn't, because if I don't, how am I supposed to know? And plus that's just me. Like if I limit my speech, I'm just doing a disservice to myself. So, and and then I act weird. I feel like I can't be myself if I can't just talk about whatever. But, yeah, anyways, the reason why I do like talking about things that are hurtful, or maybe even crying on video, because I know some people may be like, oh my God, whatever. But the thing is I like being real and showing that we all go through certain things in life, and that it doesn't matter who we are, like we've gone through similar things, or we have gone through the same kind of feelings before. So I don't always want to be just, serious or joking, or I want to be all of it, because that's literally what I feel. Yeah. Anyways. So yeah, we have all been programmed in our lives to believe certain things, and to, like, college is one of them, like going to college and getting a degree, and that's that, or getting married and having children, or the whole thing with single mothers and leaving and getting a divorce. Or I'm talking about going to church, the New and Old Testament, and all of that. It's just like we've all been programmed to think that this is the way of life, that we should be living this certain life, and this is how it is. And if you're not that, then you're not cool. Or if you're not that, you're not, you should be following what everybody else is doing. And that's the fucking funny thing, is I've never been that way. I could see it in other people when it came to society, but I would say I've never been that way when it came to societal standards, but I was that way when it came to wanting to make other people happy in my life, or some self-worth issues that I had that I never realized until, like I said, the last few years, and really working on myself and healing myself. And I know that some people I'm going to say half, because like I said, we're like in a collective now that half the people are awake, half people are not. And there's about half people that are realizing more things now, that more truths. If you are still, not fully in yet. But the thing is I feel like with me, and I can't talk this, I wish I could fully 100% talk about, and I know I will. I want to say hopefully by the end of this year, but it might not be. But I can't talk about this specifically right now, because it's just not, I just can't, first off. But it's in a part of my life. Yeah, so I know that I've known I've had gifts my whole life, and I've been told that, that's not real, or, it's my imagination, or And maybe I'm just being delusional. And I've always known that it's been real. I've always known. And I've always knew because, like I said, the very first memory, and it may seem like a scare, like freaking people. I don't know, but I want to say it was 4, I was 5. And I was in my bed. It was at night. And I specifically remember, I know 100% I was not asleep because I had not fallen asleep yet. And I specifically remember this creature. It looked like a creature and like had claws, and it was freaky. And it was obviously a demon. But I remember I was scared. I was scared to death. But I remember I was like, I kept looking because I thought, am I fucking seeing shit? Like I just could not believe it. And it was getting closer to me. And I was just like, like, what is this? Like, and once I realized, like, it registered in my head, because I didn't even know, I don't think at that point, that what that was. I think I did. I honestly want to believe that I did. And I remember my mom came in because I was screaming, and my mom came in, and then I told her, I'm pretty sure I told her it was a demon. I could have said that there was something, but my mom was like, no, you had a bad dream. No, and I was like, no, like, and I'll never forget that, because that was my first memory of this fucking thing. And I just, it always kind of bothered me. And I was like, I'm not crazy. And I know that, like, and so at that point, I shut it off because I didn't know how to deal with seeing things or even hearing stuff. So I shut it off. Because I didn't have anybody in my life to even tell me that, hey, this stuff is real, and actually teach me and work with me in that. It was, oh, pray to God, you got something wrong with you, shit like that. You know what I mean? So it was just, yeah. So, and then the time went on where I was about 6, and I've said this before, as my family was extreme, Southern Baptist. We kind of had no choice but to go to Baptist church. And any kind of dancing, doesn't matter if it's ballet, doesn't matter if it's slow dancing, any type of dancing was a sin. Could not do it. It was a sin if you did it. And then listening to any kind of music, and Halloween, which is, what the fuck? I don't know. And I'll never forget when my mom put the Nutcracker on. And so I'm seeing this for the first time at 6. And I was like, what? I was kind of confused, first off, of why she put that on, because we're always, taught that that was a sin. But I will never forget that Waltz of Flowers at the end. And I was just like, I can't explain. It was just that feeling of knowing, like, that's what I'm going to do with that's what I want to do. I'm going to be that. I'm going to be a dancer. But then I knew, I was like, but wait, I can't, because that's a sin. And I can't even tell my parents about this, because then they'll get mad, or they'll get upset, or they don't be able to watch this movie anymore. Or, it was things like that. And the whole point of all of this is where I'm coming to, is that this time, exactly like in 2004 to now, has been leading up to whatever I'm supposed to be doing. But in that time in 2004, I was dancing. I was taking 5 dance classes, and I was doing ballet, jazz, tap, acro, and hip hop. And at that time, how it all even came together too was weird, because I actually became friends with a girl in school when we lived in Arizona, and she wasn't normally my typical like friend group. It was just some other like newer friend that I became friends with. And we got really close. And one day she was telling me, hey, this, you know, dance studio that I'm going to, they're doing a free class, like hip hop class. She's like, the guy's really cute, you know, you should come with me and do the class. And she's like, it's free and my mom can take us. I was like, okay, well, you know, I got to convince my mom to let me, you know, do it. And at that time, I've already tried cheerleading. I wasn't a fan of cheerleading. It just wasn't my thing. Plus, it's weird, like cheerleading with this, it's just the shouting. I'm not a loud person. I mean, I can be loud when I'm excited. Like if I'm talking to somebody, I can be pretty loud if I'm excited. Like I maybe speak louder than normal, but I'm not a typically loud person. I'm just not. And so, excuse me. And so yeah, I do the dance class, and that's whenever her mom was watching the whole time, and I just went in and had fun. I didn't even like worry about, oh, am I good or am I bad? I just had a fun time with it. And you know, my friend's mom, she's like, I need to talk to your mom. And I was like, why? At first I thought I was, getting in trouble. And uh, she's like, no, because your mom needs to see you dance. You're really good. And I'm like, okay. And she convinces my mom to go take me to another dance class and watch me. And she did. And she's like, do you want to do this? Yeah, I do. And I think it was even in 2004, before we even knew we were moving back to Oklahoma, when she took me to see the High Steppers, the Union High Steppers, which is like a kick line. So they do kick line, but they also do other dances. But the thing they're known for is their kick line. And I'll never forget when I watched them perform, I was like, damn, like that is fucking awesome, you know? And for me, anything that was dance and learning something new, I was all for it. But this was something I just thought was fucking awesome. And I told my mom, said, I will be down there. I will be one of those girls one day, and I'm going to be performing, and I will be a high stepper. I'll never forget. I was 11 years old when I told her this. And we had no plans of even moving back to Oklahoma. We were staying in Arizona. It was just, and it all ended up somehow working out. And when we moved back, I was in 8th grade. So you can't really be in the high steppers until at that time it was sophomore year. You could be, I think, a little bit in your freshman year, but it was more of like the initiation part of it was freshman year, and then sophomore year you were a high stepper. But at that time in 8th grade, I was still playing the flute, and I had played the flute when I was in 3rd grade. I started in 3rd grade and it ended in 8th grade because my mom had always told us like we had to do something. We couldn't just like not do anything. So I also think my mom had got a scholarship to play the flute. And then she met my dad, and they decided to get married and have children. And I feel like she was trying to live her dream kind of through me. And it's not that I didn't like playing the flute. I did like playing the flute, and I was good. I was good at it. I was just naturally good at it. But it wasn't something that I would say I loved. I didn't love it. I liked it. And I guess I loved like being good and at the first chair all like every week. But no, it wasn't something I was excited to continue to keep doing. Maybe if it was something different, I don't know, but I had to choose. It was either, my mom said, you're either doing marching band and playing the flute, or you can try out and be a high stepper. You're gonna have to choose. And And at that time, I was intimidated a little bit because I knew the dancing stuff, of course. I knew how to dance, but I didn't know how to do kickline. Kickline was foreign to me. I didn't know any of it. Never done it, never tried it. So yeah, I was a little bit intimidated whenever I went to tryouts. And yeah, it was weird because all of these girls have been dancing together since they were in like 5th grade. And I was the new girl since then. That my ear is just keeps ringing when I'm just talking about this. It's weird. So yeah, I was a new girl. So I felt like the outcast, but I didn't feel completely like outcasted yet. It was more of when I got accepted in, it was more of I think maybe they thought I wasn't going to make it or be as good as what they thought I was going to be. But I was even surprised of how well I picked up the kickline routine during tryouts and did all that. I don't know how long in between it was from doing the tryouts to be a captain and co-captain. They had like 2 officers. I want to say it was maybe 2 weeks or a month or something like that. I don't really remember, but I do remember I only really got along well with a few of them. One was extremely well, and it's crazy because obviously we knew each other in past lives, and it was really obvious because, and it's so funny because she was a little bit shorter than me. She had same dark, like black, almost black hair, curly, and obviously darker skin complexion. And she was talking one day and she's like talking about how her family's from Peru. And I was like, what? Your family's from Peru? She's like, yeah, my whole family, and talking about it. And I was like, where? And come to find out that her family lives right next to my Peruvian family. And I was like, that's crazy. I said, but I haven't met any of my Peruvian family because I've unfortunately never had the chance to go down there and meet them. And I didn't speak Spanish, and at that time, it's weird as I was learning Spanish in high school. I should have kept up with that, but I didn't. So yeah, me and her got along great. And I honestly think that was one of the reasons I got through that year, because the rest of the girls, besides like the captain, I didn't really get along with. I tried to get to know the girls, but out of school, like out of practice, when we were in school and they saw me, they pretended that they didn't even know who I was. So I would just be like, whatever. Okay. And it was just weird. It was weird. I don't know. It just, because to me, I'm always so nice to everybody. It doesn't matter if they have different beliefs than me or different ideas. I still tried to get along with them, or, I don't know. It's just weird. But once, sophomore year came up, and I can't remember her name. It starts with a B. But anyways, she ended up, the Peruvian dancer that I got along with, she ended up leaving because she was also tired of the girls in the group. She felt the same way as I did not feel accepted. And I was surprised when the captain, my freshman year, actually stepped down. I did not know that she felt that way at all. I wish I would have known that. I feel like, I don't know. I would have felt like maybe I could have, tried to get her to stay because I knew she loved it, but I could tell she also didn't feel like she was accepted. And that's sad. It's sad because that's one of the things of, as I know very well what it's like to not be accepted or feel left out or be the outcast, and bringing in, like I said, lost souls and lost people, and having empathy and sympathy for people like that, the underdog and all of that. And, I will say too, the biggest thing before sophomore year, when we had tryouts for the captain, co-captain, and the officers, this is when I really knew I wasn't accepted. Was I made my own hip hop routine. All the other girls did like jazz or lyrical or something like that. It's the only one that did something different. And I always loved hip hop. Hip hop was always one of my favorites. And I thought I did good. And what's weird is because we had our teacher, which obviously not, the assistant coach was actually my cousin that I had not met in a long time, in many, many years. She's my cousin from my mom's side. And so that was kind of weird. And so the girls kind of thought that I was getting kind of special treatment because of that too. So that was really weird as well, how that worked out. And I'll never forget whenever I checked, because back then too, before, because there was phones, but before computers and, Facebook and all of that, when you did tryouts and they post like who got in and, you actually had to go to the location. So I actually had to go to the school. I think it was a high school, to go to the front door and look at the paper that was taped on there and see if your name was listed. And I can say back then that was actually honestly a surreal experience that kids now will never experience, that of, having to drive somewhere to go look at it and see if you made it. Like, I don't know. It's crazy because whenever I made it on both years, my freshman and sophomore year, it was just a surreal experience to just go and then see your name on, I don't know. It's just crazy. But yeah, anyways, when I tried out for officer or any position, they also had, the last thing was they had a popular vote, which I thought, how is that even allowed? Or that is fucked up. I'm like, why does that matter? And I guess it's because more girls would follow somebody more if they felt comfortable with them. It makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't. To me, it's fucked up. But yeah, of course, like a popular, I knew I wasn't going to get that because I'm the new girl and they don't trust me. They don't know me. Plus they don't like, nobody likes a new person coming in and being good. They just don't like that. And it was just sad because I remember when I going down there and looking, and then I knew like I didn't get it. And I'll never forget. It was just, I almost quit because I didn't get in, because I was so pissed. I was like, fuck these girls. Fuck this. Like, I don't want to be a part of something that is all about shit like that. I don't. And I think it was my cousin that sat there and talked to me that actually stopped me from doing that, because she just said, you know what? She goes, just because they're an officer or a captain or co-captain does not mean that they get the solo or that they get the front, like being the front row. She said, if you're dancing better and have better technique, she goes, you can actually get their spot. And I think that's when something clicked and I was like, oh, okay. And that actually made me try and work harder. So that actually was better for me because I worked harder. So after school, I would practice by myself. I would practice the things that I was not as good at, or, things I needed to work on, or just practice the routine or dance that we were doing. And then I will say that freshman year, I was not only picked for some solo pieces in the dances that we had, but every single dance, the kick line, we had a novelty dance, jazz, and one more that I can't remember. I was in the front every single one of those dances. Every single one. So yeah, that's me. I'm just kidding. No, but it was really sad that those two girls left. So I was really hesitant to try out my sophomore year. So I tried out my sophomore year, I made it. And that year was a lot harder for me because I then tried to really make friends with the other girls, because the other girls that I was kind of friends with, they were gone. It's like, well, I need to try harder to make friends with these girls. And it was just not. And plus, it wasn't even only that. It's with the high steppers, it was with the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors. And they have it as a rule, as it goes by seniority. It doesn't matter if a senior or junior dances worse than you as a sophomore, they still get better pick and better like front row and better at like they still get better option than a sophomore, because you're at the bottom and you have to, I guess, make your way or earn your way, I guess, which I always thought that was very odd. I just, I love the experience of being in kick line and being with a group of women, because I've always had trouble with women. Not always, but I've always been very sensitive around women because of that. And it was a surreal experience because I felt accepted, but at the same time, I didn't feel accepted. But even though I didn't feel accepted in the group or on the dance team with the girls, I knew that I told myself that I was not going to let these girls ruin dance for me in general. And I didn't. I still did it. And I realized after that I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to be on the team anymore because it wasn't worth dealing with those type of people that were going to continue to treat me a certain way. I knew that I at least did something for myself. And at that time in my life, I knew that, okay, this isn't good for me anymore. I need to leave. Even though I love dancing and I loved doing that, I knew that it was not healthy for me to stay. And that was also one of the best times of my life, was during those times too, because that was the time that I was getting involved with other friends. My sophomore year, that's whenever I met um, some of my really good friends that got me into, what I spoke about with the bands like Crooked X. And uh, that's when I started getting more into going to D-Fest, back when Tulsa had D-Fest. And yeah, it's just one of my favorite times of my life was during that time. And and like I said, it's weird. I mean, like, everything happens for a reason. And I know that me meeting those people and going to those concerts and places was somehow connected to my brother being able to play and getting that motivation to play guitar. And it's just crazy how everything works the way that it's supposed to. And my ear just keeps ringing. My ear is just ringing off the hook, dude. So yeah, I know was going to be a long video, and there's so much that goes into like the last 19 years. I could probably talk like another 2 hours about all of that. But whenever I got injured, and another reason why I quit High Steppers was because I got injured. And then I was having issues, which I didn't know at that time, was with endometriosis and PCOS. Excuse me. And that was around the time I was also feeling completely different. I felt like a completely different person. Plus, I didn't know what depression was. So I didn't know I was having depression. And it was another thing of like, I felt like my world just kind of flipped. And so I didn't know how to deal with it. And I was having issues with my mom and my dad. And I didn't feel like anybody was hearing me out. And it was the same thing of, well, how, you're obviously not in that much pain if you can dance or if you can do this and that. And I'm like, and I would be literally like, what kind of logic does that make sense? Like, cause I didn't have a choice. It was one of those things of like, I didn't have a choice of whether or not I was in High Steppers or not. It was like, I had to choose something. Like, it wasn't, I got a choice not to do anything. And that was the thing too, was like, I've always wanted to just relax. I felt like in my childhood, I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to relax. I wasn't able to just enjoy myself. It was just always something. I had to do something. And I'm appreciative of the things that I learned from that though. And I was always like, my speech has always been put down. And that's whether it was with decisions that I couldn't make, or, opinions back whenever you were super religious, or back whenever I was a teenager and I just was never heard, and, was told I was either, I was being a hypochondriac, or I was just being like lying, or whatever it was. And that's happened my whole life. And that's one of the things is I've just realized that that's always going to happen. There's always going to be people who don't agree with what I talk about, what I say, what I do, what decisions I make. And that's fine. As long as I know now that I'm making the right decisions for myself, I don't care anymore. Like, I've learned that there's always going to be people that don't like what I have to say or what I'm doing or whatever. And I've had to build my own self-worth during this like 19 years. And it literally was at the end. It was at the end, and I'm still learning because I was never taught that. And I don't blame my parents for it, because I get it. My mom had gone through some stuff and I never saw that. I never realized that. My dad always had to work. So I never really got a relationship with my dad. I never was able to have a close relationship, like during the most vital times that I needed that relationship. And the times that I was going through all of the leaving the High Steppers and having, you know, these new issues, I was in realizing I was fucking up by running away from things, running away from people, or running away from not wanting to like look into myself and figure it out. I dissociated a lot. I would dissociate and daydream a lot, and like daydream more about like this other like life than this one, you know. And honestly, it's just how my brain coped at that time and how I needed to cope at that time, I guess. And yeah, so with this whole matrix and the things of what I, you know, what we were taught growing up, I was always also taught like, you know, women were, you know, you're good for, you know, getting married and having children. And that was like it. And that was like all you had to look up to, like look forward to. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that that's bad or anything, or because, you know, it's been one of the best experiences. But also it's been one of those things of like, oh shit, like I had a choice. Like I actually had a choice. And at that time, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I didn't feel uh, like I could go off and do something else. And I can sit there and blame my parents, you know, society or whatever. But I have to blame part of myself for that because I let those people get in my head. And I also let my self-worth, insecurities, and everything else that I was fear to get involved in a lot of the decisions and situations that I got myself in the times that I had numbed myself out and did not know who the fuck I was. Because after I got out of the high steppers, I feel like that was a time in my life where I felt I had completely lost who I was. I didn't know where I belonged. I didn't know anything anymore. I felt like it felt like I had lost what I was meant to do. But just I saw it so narrow-mindedly because of my life and the people around and the things that you hear and the things that you get told and what you're shown, that I only saw and view it in one specific way, when I now realize it in a completely different way now. And, you know, I just lost who I was. And then at that point in time, like I was about 18, was whenever I got prescribed. I was actually prescribed the first time hydrocodone at 18. So at that time, it was about almost 10 years. And then I went into pain management around 21. But yeah, it wasn't like from 18 to 21, it wasn't all the time that I was on medication, but it was periodically enough to where I was numbed out a lot. And I was not seeing where my life was going and where I was heading, because all I knew was that this pain medication, it helped with my pain. But what was even better was I realized it helped numb the emotional pain and everything I was not wanting to deal with, or do or whatever, it numbed that out. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And that's whenever I lost my way, was during that. And I'm not going to say I completely lost my way, because it all actually ended up here. Like it actually ended up where I was supposed to be, honestly. So I guess I don't want to say I lost my way, because I had to lose my way, and I had to lose myself and lose my way to figure out where I needed to be and be put where I am supposed to be. So I didn't want to admit I was that's what the pain medication was really for. And because it really was for pain, but it also helped numb me out completely. So it wasn't like I was being fully honest, but it's just amazing to me that my mom could completely see right through it, could see right through what I was doing. She was the only one that could see right through me. And it made me mad, because I was like, why? What the fuck? I could never get around my mom. Anytime that I tried to like get around her, or, oh, she's going to fall for it. And she never did. And my mom knew during the times that it was really bad for me. And she always knew. And then that's the thing is, with women and intuition, but my mom and I share a lot of the same gifts. And, that was around the time too, where, like I've talked about this in videos before, where I decided that I was going to have a relationship with my mom, that I wanted that relationship, and that I was going to love and accept her and not try to change her, anything at all. And that if I wanted this, I was going to have to be the one to work for it. And I don't regret that at all. And I am so glad that I did that, because now that she's gone, I can't imagine if I didn't do that. I honestly can't. I cannot. I think that would have messed me up for the rest of my life if I never did that. And so I am thankful that I did that. And it's just shown me a lot of I can handle a lot of fucking bullshit. But it also showed me, it opened up something for me to see that I have a lot of control issues. Well, in the past, I've had a lot of control issues. That's why I had a lot of this shit happen in my life, because I always felt like I could try to control it out of like fear, knowing that like if I was becoming fearful of something or anxiety, whatever, I would become very controlling in certain areas of my life. And that's something that came up recent, which I quickly realized this last weekend. Like I said, I've had little things come up recently. And this thing that's come up the last 3 years, because I've known, but I haven't had like 100% proof. And it's always been an intuition knowing. And I've spoken with family members about this, but like a very few amount. And I had it pop in my head. And I was, going through astrology, and I was going through charts, and it was pretty much confirmation. But then again, I was getting obsessed with trying to find like certain dates. Like, I need to find out dates. I need to find out. And it became like a control thing of I was trying to then control oh, if I can get prepared and know when this is going to happen, then I'll be okay. I'll be all right. And then I've realized that it doesn't matter. Even if I know the date or the time or whenever, that it doesn't matter, is I'm not going to be prepared for it. I'm not going to be prepared for it. And it's going to be painful. It's going to be extremely painful, because this is what I've been taught, was this is the stuff you're supposed to do. And I can't completely talk about this yet, like fully opening about it. But I didn't want to be right. That's the thing, is I didn't want to be right. And I really tried to ignore it. And the thing is and one of the hardest things I've realized too, that I've messed up, was I put people on pedestals because I saw that they had something that I wanted, like that not wanted, but like wanted in the future for myself, but like admired too, because I wanted that in the future. So I put certain people on a pedestal. And I'm going to just say, like, certain people, like very few amount of people. And the sad thing is after I had my first son, Wiley, I started really waking up. And something in me, that was around the time. So in the summer of 2019, God was telling me, whether you want to say it, God or the universe, either way, was telling me that I needed to speak. I needed to, because this was around the time like podcasts were becoming like big, like everybody was doing a podcast, but this was different. This was something like God was telling me, you need to get on, your computer, or you need to get on camera and you need to speak. And I remember telling my mom like about this, because it was driving me crazy, because it wasn't going away. It was just like getting stronger. And I was like, Mom, what do I like? I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. And of course, my mom is a talker. My mom's always been a talker. And she's just like, well, just talk. I'm like, but what? Like, what? Like, don't you talk about like certain things? She's like, just talk. And I'm like, that's like easier said than done. But she was right. I mean, it was, and it was really hard, because around me too, everybody's like, well, I'd rather listen to a podcast that's with someone else too, not just by themselves. Or I always like stuff with it's when multiple people and this and that. And so it put this fear in me that I thought, okay, well, I'm only going to be successful if I have somebody else involved, or if I have a group of people involved. And it put this fear of nobody was going to want to watch this but just me. They're going to think it's boring, and I have to have somebody else because it's what everybody else likes and follows, I guess. And this has been one of the things that I've just figured out too, is and then during that time I was asking people. I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, do you think you want to do this with me? But it wasn't working out, because she was going to like chemotherapy every day and doing blood work done. And I didn't want to put that on her. And then I thought, well, what if we do something with my whole family? But then one of my older brothers, he has, a job. He's gone all the time. So it's like, I don't see how that's going to work. And I tried. I tried having my best friend. I was like, why don't we do something together? But, then I think at that time she got pregnant with her third child, or I think it was her third. So then, she's more busy now. And so I'm like, well, that's not going to work, So it was like every situation I tried to work with anybody I knew, I tried. I at least tried and said, hey, let's try to do something. But it was always either busy or couldn't do it, or something in their life was going on and it just wasn't going to work. And the only way that it was going to work was just me doing this on my own. And so I kept putting it off. Like I said, this was something in 2019. And then even at that time, I knew that I was supposed to get off pain medication because I was still in pain management. I knew that I was not, and plus I was in a job I hated. I was good at medical billing. I was good at working in medical field for the last 8 years, but it wasn't something that I was like in love with doing. It just wasn't, because I liked helping people, but those companies have just gotten evil. I've seen so many backdoor illegal shit happen. It's unbelievable. If people want to hear stories about that, I don't know if I want to, get in trouble with that. I need to do like a Patreon or something so I can talk more, like, have people pay and I can actually talk about these kind of things. But yeah, anyways, I just hated my job. I hated where I was. I hated where I was in life. Except for the fact that like I had Wiley, like that was the only thing that was keeping me going in my life. Like, people say having children, they stop you from certain things and whatever. But I'm telling you, having Wiley changed my life for better. Because before that, I'd always like sleep and not get out of bed. And I had trouble with depression. I had trouble with all of that. But I knew that with Wiley, I had no choice. I had no choice but to get up when he was crying and needed me, and to feel even just the love of a mother and a child and your own child is, you can't explain it. But it was what kept me going. It's what kept me going. And he actually saved me from depression, because I had to get up. I had no choice but to get up and feed him, be involved. Because if not, they're dead. But like, I had no choice. But within that time, it became a habit of me getting up and get moving and get to doing things, which I hadn't done in a long time. And I started noticing change in the way that I was thinking, and noticing the depression not being as always there, I guess. And yes, I went through really bad postpartum depression, but that was only for about like 3 months or something with Wiley. And it wasn't, and that was a lot different too, because I was in a completely different place than most people, where, my mom was in a hospital 2 hours away, going through cancer. And, she didn't get to see Wiley until he was 3 weeks old. And it was supposed to be where she was supposed to be there for my birth, but it just didn't happen that way. And there was some really bad things that happened during that time, which makes sense of why I was going through all of that. But it was that time where I got the message that I was supposed to do this. And then I also just started having, like, I just, for some reason, knew I needed to quit pain medicine. And it was one of those things too, where I was waking up to the fact that not only did I want to quit just because, but I wanted to have better health, because I wanted I wanted to be able to move around more, be more involved, and be emotionally there for my children, and or even for my child, because I didn't know I was going to have another kid, but I just knew either way for myself, I needed to do this. And I had planned to do this recovery after my surgery for endometriosis and PCOS. And when I tell you that the devil and just the dark in general does not want you to do what you're meant to do, and does not want you to be doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. And they don't want you to stop doing the dark shit that you've been doing or being involved with. And yeah, tried to kill me, almost died. But I knew, I knew, but I didn't know in the beginning yet if I was going to make it. But I knew that if God was going to keep me here or let me live through that I meant to be here I meant here for some reason, like purpose. And because a lot of people who go through septic shock and then have double pneumonia on top of that, and then get like fluid in their lungs and just a bunch of other shit, don't make it. They don't make it. It was just, yeah, it was insane. And and of course they didn't find a bacteria. They didn't know what the hell caused it. I mean, it's obvious that the surgery, but it was just meant to happen. It was another thing that was supposed to happen to get me here. And what's funny is whether or not that it was the dark or the devil that was trying to get me to stop taking pain medication, that right there was actually what got me even more was, I need to get off this shit. It was even more apparent to me after I had sepsis that I was like, damn, I cannot deny that now I need to get off this shit. And I knew it was going to take time. I knew it wasn't going to be overnight. I knew it was going to be a while because I knew I was on that shit for 10 years. And, Suboxone was just becoming a thing. And so, yeah. And I am now on, I think it's like 750 milligrams or I don't know, but it's like a very low. I just got lowered, like literally just got lowered. So I'm probably going to be, but it's what they call mild withdrawal. So that's why you see me a lot of times with a fan like this, because I'm like always sweating. And even when I go work out, I am like sweating more than most people because it's just my body's going, what the fuck, but yeah. So yeah, and I kept pulling, I started doing that, and I was kind of putting off this stuff here, doing the videos, and it just kept bothering me. It just kept bothering me. And it was like, what, 2020? Yeah, 2020. So when I got pregnant again. And then my mom was no longer in remission. Found out 2 weeks before I got pregnant, she was no longer in remission. And so then and because of COVID, then she wasn't even able to be there for Wolf's birth as well. And that was a rough pregnancy. So during that time, there was just really, that wasn't a good time. And it was a time where I was just trying to make it through my pregnancy, because like I have with Wiley and Wolf, I've had really bad pregnancies, painful. And so I was also having issues dealing with long-term and short-term disability, mainly short-term disability, had to get a lawyer. This was during my Saturn return. My Saturn return just happened like in December, like 2 days. Wait, was it? No. Oh, I don't remember. Either way, my Saturn return happened like a month and a half after I had sepsis. And so then like and of course it was in my 9th house, which deals with law and like long distance and shit like that. And so, yeah, anything that was like, I had to get a lawyer and it was still denied. I had to fight that, and it caused so much stress in my life. And I just couldn't do it at that time. And then 2021, Wolf was a rough baby, had colic, acid reflux, and I'm not kidding you. I remember about maybe 3 months of 2021. Anywhere from January to July, I don't remember anything. I remember like one thing that was in April, because Falling in Reverse was actually doing their online show. And so I remember that specifically. But that, I'm not kidding. I don't remember anything else from January through July. And July actually was kind of feeling better that month. And I was going back to the gym, and I realized I wanted to get back physically, start working on my body physically now that I was getting off pain medication slowly. And I was still having sicknesses, upper respiratory illnesses every month, either once a month or twice a month after I had sepsis, every month for almost 2 years. And I remember sitting there thinking that I'm like, this is my life now. This is like fearing that this is always going to be my life. I'm always going to be sick. I'm always going to have health problems. I'm always going to have to go through this. I'm always going to have to fucking go, and not realizing that I was putting myself in that, and that I was causing myself to always be fearful of. But then it was also, I technically was also liked being in the misery. Like because I've been in misery and pain and suffering for so long that it was like, I didn't know how to get out of that. I didn't know how to get out. So it was just something I was so used to. And during that time, a lot was going on. I was having weird things coming up of like things I needed to do. And I was slowly working on different things in my life, because I knew that I needed to do, because you can't work on everything at once. You have to take baby steps with certain things. And my thing is, I usually, when I know that there's a problem or know there's something going on, I'm usually already like, I want to fucking be done with it. I already want to deal with it, and I just want it to be dealt with. But it's being patient with the process. And yeah, 2021, I was still talking to my mom about it. And I was like, I told her, I said, I wanted to start in like February. Told her, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to start in February and at least do the first video in February. And, and during that time, my mom's health was going downhill, but none of us would have thought that that was going to be the end, or it was coming to an end. And all I can remember was when 2022 started. Like, I'm not kidding, right in the beginning, like first week of January. I just knew that 2022, I was like, this is going to be my year. It's like, this is going to be the year that I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm going to fucking just do it. I'm going to try. I'm just going to is like main character moment almost. And the first 2 weeks I was doing great. I was like going to the gym and working out. And then it was like the third week I actually got COVID. And during that whole time of when COVID was happening, I never got it until then. I thought, that's fucking weird. And then that's when I had that weird dream. That next week I had this weird dream 3 days before my mom went to hospital. This weird dream, the most vivid dream that I've ever had in my life, ever in my life. Most vivid, every single thing I remember in that dream still, because, and it was, and I need to talk about this dream in another video. But yeah, it was anyway, it was, long story short, it was like I died and I actually went to heaven. Like, I actually went to heaven. I saw heaven. Like, I saw angels and God spoke to me. And when I tell you that dream fucked me up, afterwards, I woke up, I was bawling for hours. And then I called my mom and I told her about the dream and she's crying with me. And I don't know if that was like a psychic thing or something of telling me that, hey, your mom's gonna die, but it was just, it was crazy. And then 3 days later, my mom is not talking and in the hospital. And then a week later, she passes away. And some days I am okay still. And then there's times where it just depends. There's just times where I struggle a little bit more than others. But my mom's always been around since she's passed away. She was here like the first night. Like, she made it known to me. She was already here. She was already around. And people say, oh, there's like recovery and stuff if you're sick and you die, and you got to like recover after you die. And I think that might be true. I don't know. Like I said, nobody really knows what happens after you die. But there was a specific time. She was there for a little bit after, like a little bit right after. Then there was a specific time she kind of went away for a little bit, like for a month or something or longer. And I was getting kind of like sad because she like wasn't around. Like, there was just nothing. I like nothing. And then all of a sudden it was just like, she was here. She was just like always showing, like always just, I just always knew she was around. Always knew she was around. And I'd hear her. She does this thing like, she always knocks on my nightstand. And I'm not kidding you. It's like a loud knock. She'll knock on my nightstand and she'll turn my phone on every time. Every time. And people don't understand is like this. You cannot, like iPhones, you cannot just turn it on to your page unless it's your face or you put in the code, usually if you have a code or, your face. She bypasses that. And that's how, that's how I already know that it's her, because it's just, there's no fucking way. There's just no way, because nobody can bypass this unless you put the password in or your face. But she'll knock on my nightstand, and this is at night. It's always at night. She's knocking on my nightstand, and then I'll know it's her. So then I like, roll over or whatever. And then I'll look at my phone, and my phone is on, and it's on, like it is on the front page. Every time. every time. And people can believe what they want, believe that people won't come here to visit. That I'm not going to try to make you believe that shit or not. That's whatever you believe. But I've always thought if people believe that angels come down here and visit, then why couldn't family members also come down to visit? That doesn't make sense to me. But it's more, like I said, it's more of what we've always been taught and told. And always finding out too, what's weird is the religion thing. I've then had issues with religion lately, because my feeling of what I've always felt is, as long as you have your personal, like you have a really good personal relationship with God, like, and yourself, then that's that. Like, because most people don't. Most people, they go to church. They think just because they're going to church and they're singing, whatever, worshiping, and then they just go live on their lives and just, pray like boring prayers or whatever, and not really talking to God or pouring your heart or whatever. They think that that's better than somebody who actually talks to God, speaks to God, pours their heart out, knows God, and has a relationship with God. And to me, I feel like it's weird to me when people want to say that I'm a problem now that I don't want to go to church because I just have that personal relationship right now. And I talk about God. So to me, I feel like what the fuck's the problem? Because I don't deny God. I don't at all. I talk about God all the time to people and whatever. But just because I don't go to church, because I don't want to go to church, and I don't want to, just because I don't want to go to church, apparently just makes me not a good enough Christian, or not enough, or I'm not doing the right thing that God wants me to do. But what's funny is those are the people who also go to church and come back home and they do drugs, or they drink, or they're still doing dark shit, and they're still doing shit that they're not supposed to be doing, that God specifically doesn't want them to be doing, but they're still doing it. And they think that they're better. It just, to me, or they talk shit about other people behind their back and judgmental or whatever. And who's this? So who's better then? Who's better then? Who would you say is better? Neither. Like I said, there's a whole matrix saying of this is how it should be. If it's not this specific way, you're doing it wrong. And this is a time where we all need to figure out what works for us and where we are supposed to go. Because anything that is not aligned with us is not going to work. And I already know this, and that's what's been hard for me. I kind of have known certain things the last 3 years. So I've worked towards being where I'm supposed to be, because I've already knew for some reason I needed to do that. I wanted to be the person who I was meant to be in the first place. I was never meant to continue to be on pain medication, to continue to run away from things and not build my own self-worth and not love myself, and to continue to just not be awake and continue to keep doing the shit that I was doing. And I wasn't meant for that. And also I wasn't meant to observe. I was always meant to, I'm like spinning. I was always meant to speak. I was always meant to, and people may think I'm crazy. I fucking don't give a shit. It doesn't matter to me anymore. But I know I'm chosen. I've always known since I was a kid that I was meant to do something big. Never knew what it was, never knew how it was going to happen. I always knew that I was meant for something big in this life. And that's the thing too, is I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I know that I'm going to end up in a place that I'm supposed to be and where God wants me to be. And all I know is that even the stuff that I do now, let's say that I continue to do kind of the same stuff, which is helping others in whatever way, is that I always want people to know this as well. Don't ever feel like you can't do something because other people do it and that you would feel like an imposter, or that you couldn't be successful in that. Because the other thing is it doesn't matter what it is. And if a lot of other people do it, and the same thing is, some people need to understand, even if they have a lot of followers or people watching them, that they're not the only ones that can do what they do. And same thing with me. I'm not the only one who can sit here and talk about these kind of things and help other people. We all have a seat at the table. I want to help people, and I hope people can listen to what I have to say, take some of it, take whatever, doesn't matter to me. Take none, whatever. But my thing is too, I want to learn from other people. I want to listen to other people's opinions that either I've never heard or that's maybe similar to mine, but different. See if that works for me too. And then tell people about that. It's just, there's no specific way of how we should be all doing something. And this is what we're going to start learning. And you're just going to, some people, they haven't done the work yet. And I was fortunate enough to wake up before all of this, and am going to help people to get to where I am, because I've been down a fucking road, a long road. And there was a reason for that. There just was. And this is going to be a long ass video. I did not think that this video was going to be this long. Actually, didn't know it was going to be long, but I didn't think it was going to be almost 2 hours. I already know that these next 19 years, I've already had a talk with God, and I've already prayed, and I've already wrote things down. I know that this is going to be the best 19 years that I've ever had in my life. And whether or not, it doesn't matter what happens in the world, because people can point out there's war coming, and there is. But that doesn't mean that should stop you from whatever's happening in your life, and stop you from happiness, or stop you from doing what you need to do. And if you truly feel like what you're doing is what you love and what is right, then keep doing that. And I will tell you this, for many years that I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing, and I was listening to other people and just trying to get validation or happiness, make other people happy. I was sick all the time. I always had illnesses, and doing jobs that I hated. I did not want to do, but I was only doing it because to pay bills. That was it. And the moment that I started working on myself, and then even getting off pain medication, and it's been a year now, like I said, since Easter of last year was when I quit pain management. It has been over a year. That's been since I was 18 years old. And I have been going to the gym almost every single day for almost a month now. And I have not been this healthy or physical since I was in high steppers. I was about 15 or 16 years old. So there is obviously has to be some truth to, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're going in the right direction, that your health will be better or things in your life will start to be better. But I've started to realize that when I started to change different things and started slowly going down that way, that people were leaving my life. Things were completely changing. That's been one of the hardest. And I feel like that's been one of the hardest things for me, is to let go of certain people that don't need to be in my life anymore. And when I was talking about earlier with people having, people on a pedestal, it is sad to see that the people or the person that I had put on this pedestal, that I admired because of the things that they did. And I was I aspired to get to that point. And when I started working on myself and started working on my self-worth and loving myself and working on myself and making decisions for myself and doing what I wanted to do. And then I started seeing this person go downhill. And I started seeing this person for who they were. The illusion completely. Rose-colored glasses are off. And I think that's one of the hardest things. And then to also try to be that person in their lives, to show them and to help them see what they're doing is not for their own good. But I can't do that anymore for people. All I can hope is that people can see that they do need to change, and that those things that they're feeling, they need to start working on that. And that I can't help people anymore. I thought I always tried to help people, and I always tried to be like, hey, you're doing this, this, and this, but it doesn't matter anymore, because they have to figure that out. And they have to do that. They have to do the work themselves, and they have to figure that out. Because if they don't figure it out and want to work on it, and they don't feel like they need to work on it, then they're not going to. And that's also been one of the things that I've now realized is I'm no longer helping people anymore. I'm just not. And the people that are not meant to be in my life are just not. And I know now, I deserve way more than what I ever thought I did. That's been one of the hardest things, is I had deprived myself from so much in the last 19 years, because I always thought, because I didn't do certain things that everybody else was doing or whatever, that I didn't deserve that, or I didn't deserve higher or more or whatever. And now I realize that I deserve way fucking more than what I've had and what I've been getting. And I deserve more from myself. And that's what I've been doing. And the reason for this long video is I want people to see there's always a story from everybody. And there's always things that we can learn from each other. And I want whoever's watching this, if you've gone this far already, to seriously think about 2004 to now and think about that whole story to see where everything and to see where you're going. Because that is the most important thing. And the most important thing is, all I know is I'm just meant to help other people. I'm just meant to help other people. I'm meant to show people that you can be yourself. That's it. Like, don't be afraid to be yourself. You know, and don't be afraid to lose people, because it happens. It's always going to happen. It doesn't, like, people can't stay in your lives forever. And I'm a very sensitive person, and I will literally try with anybody and everyone in my life to keep a relationship or keep it going. And I can't do that anymore. I can't be the only one that tries anymore. And I can't save people, and I can't help people if I can't even help myself. And I never realized any of that until the last 3 years. And people can say, well, that's so obvious. Whitney, that's, you know, but you know what? Until you live your own shit and you wake up and you realize your own shit and how it works for you, you can't talk shit. You can talk shit all you want, like that, you know, that the way that you're going with your life and what you're doing is the right thing. We'll see. We'll see. I hope it really is. I don't want anything bad for anybody. I really don't. But the one thing I don't like is people who cannot be themselves, or who are too scared to be themselves, and they're too worried about what other people are going to think about them. And they're too scared to show anything because they're worried or afraid. And you can't be afraid. And this is another time too where people that are like to be alone, it's okay to be alone and to get, you know, people's energy and shit off you. But like, if you really like to not be out and hang out with people and talk to people or talk in general, you're going to have a really fucking hard time these next 19 years, because it is no longer, you know, introvert. And I would say I'm a good middle. Like, I'm a good, I like my time to myself, but I really also like my time out in the world and with friends and people. And it's been really hard. I feel like it's been really hard, especially during these times, because people are always like, they want to be to themselves and they want to be like, get away from me. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to hang out. I don't want to do this. And it's like, it's weird. It's just, why? That's a boring, like, it's boring life. Like, always being by yourself. Like, damn, you know, people are so scared too to like have a connection with anyone, or they're so scared of like being in a relationship because they don't want to get hurt. And that, guess what? Shit happens. Like, yeah, I could go on and on and on, but I really wanted to make this one like a longer video. This is a important time. And maybe I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited for where I'm heading in my life. And I'm excited for others when, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, because we're going to be living our best lives. And of course, there's always going to be times of pain and, sadness, happiness, and stuff like that. That's just life. There's going to be cycle. They're not always going to have everything always great and happy and rainbows and all of that. We all wish that could be the case. But this is definitely the time too that anybody that's not supposed to be in your life or that's not going to work out is going to start not working out. And I think that's one of the last things that I really, struggle with, is to let people go. And it's not even letting them go. I feel like it's the memories. It's the memories of the good times, even though if I know it's already not good anymore, or it's not healthy, or it's toxic, but I'm still holding on to that, what they used to be and how they used to be towards me or whatever. And that it's not going to go back to that. And it's more of now of the unknown of everything. And that's okay. It's okay, because I've gone through so much stuff now in my life where I've realized people can sit there and say that they have control, and that they'll try so hard to say, oh, well, I have control over certain things in my life. If you think that, I've thought I've had control over certain things. There are some things you have control over, like how you act towards people and things like that. But when it comes to people leaving your life, or people dying, or just events in general, if you lose your job, whatever, that you don't, I feel like, have control over. And you can try to have control over that all you want, but this is a crazy time. A crazy, crazy time. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this shit. I really am. I'm ready to go. This is the first time, like I said, in a long fucking time where I'm I feel like I am finally getting to a point where I need to be in my life. Where I've always wanted to finally be at. And I'm there. And I know there's always things I'm going to need to work on, and it's things, and that's everybody, but it's just crazy. I don't know. It's just crazy. I feel like Pluto and Capricorn was such shit in my life. There was really good things that happened during those 19 years. But I feel like I had more shit that happened during that time than anything. And even though that's when the time that I woke up, and I'm getting to this point now, I feel like this is my time. And what's weird is, and anybody that believes in astrology, if they don't, whatever, but I've always kind of felt like, because I have, so I'm Pisces sun, Taurus moon, Gemini rising. I have my Venus in Aquarius. I have my Mars in Aquarius. I have my Jupiter in Virgo. What's next? I have my Uranus and Neptune and Capricorn. I have my Pluto and Scorpio. My Saturn is in Aquarius. What else am I missing here? My midhaven is in Pisces. My north node is in Capricorn. My IC is in Virgo and my DC is in Sagittarius. I think that's it. There's a lot more to it. But anyways, I feel like with my Venus and Mars, and especially Saturn, Aquarius, and not only that, especially with Pisces, because we're at the end of Pisces. So it's been a fucking ride. And I'm just going to say, for some reason, I've always felt like anybody who's suffered in Pluto and Capricorn, depending on who it is, like, and your age too, I feel like also has a factor in that, is probably going to do very well in Pluto and Aquarius. And I'm not saying it for everybody, but also there are people who did what they were supposed to do, like when Pluto and Capricorn started. So they did really well in Pluto and Capricorn. So that means they might do pretty well in Pluto and Aquarius if you kept up with what you were supposed to be doing. That's the other thing. That's if you kept up with what you were meant to do. But if you fell in the whole point of like doing drugs and alcohol or things that you weren't supposed to be doing, you're probably going to get a big fucking wake up call. And you're probably going to have to, like, in the next 19 years, you're going to have to now fix all that. And I was too young, especially like when Pluto and Capricorn just happened. I was just entering, like, I just became a teenager. So that was also one of the things of just, I was too young and didn't know anything. And even if I knew astrology at that point, I still wouldn't have been able to know even then. That is a weird time. But I feel like the older people that I knew that did really well in Pluto and Capricorn, it's because of their age and that they had that time to already experience that teenage stuff and crap and everything, and kind of know where they were going. And, I feel like that has a lot to do with it. I feel like age has a lot to do with it. And not only that, but it's also, I feel like the people that have always been the outcasted and that have always been themselves, but kind of the lone wolf or just different wanderer stuff. Like, I feel like those people are going to thrive during the next 19 years, because especially if you've owned that shit, if you've owned it, I let people shut me down for quite some time. And I thought, oh, well, this person's not going to want to be with me anymore if I don't stop doing this or stop saying this, or, I let people tell me what I should wear, disrespect me or whatever. And like I said, all that shit's done with, because like I said, I didn't know I didn't know my self-worth. I wasn't shown that. So I had to learn that, and that I had to learn the hard way. And I feel like that's my whole point of what I'm meant to do and help for people, is to get out of this fucking matrix, get out of the way that you think that fucking shit is supposed to go. And that this is the right way. That's the wrong way. Let's just fucking stop that shit. And let's just all fucking love each other the way that we're all fucking different. If you want to work a fucking job that you hate, I'll support you, but it's still, I'm gonna be on your ass to tell you probably shouldn't do that. You know, I'm one of those people that I cause tower moments in people's lives. That's why a lot of people don't have me in their life. And I wake people the fuck up, and I'm honest, and I tell them, and I trigger people, but it's because I am trying to figure out who they are completely. I'm a Pisces. I want to go deep in your fucking soul and know who you are completely as a soul. Completely. I want people to wake up to who they are. And when I meet someone new, and I love to find out those kind of things. Usually I already know how somebody is because I can already observe and see who they are. I know, kind of feel already. But I love to find out those things for those people too. Kind of like have them dig into themselves, and they'll get triggered, because it's the stuff that they don't want to fucking deal with or see or whatever. And it's cool to, see a little bit, a little light bulb there. But a lot of the times people don't want to deal with that. So then it causes a tower moment in their life. And then a lot of the times, it's just because we're not friends anymore because of that. And that's just the unfortunate thing is I'm a literal walking, like I'm one of those people that come into people's lives, and if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, like, you'll know pretty quickly. Yeah. But anyways, hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I'm going to go to the gym. I might film again and do like something with stretching and stuff, because I wanted to try out that video last week and see how that kind of went. So I want to try to do that again, but I might do it as a live. Not sure. I don't know yet. And like I said, I think I might start doing like Patreon or Twitch or something. I don't know, like something to where, I can talk to people, like be present and be able to like communicate with people and do stuff live. Because I think I've come to the point now where I'm good. Like I'm good with filming, good now. I'm comfortable with it enough to where I'm like ready for the next stage. Like I'm ready for doing lives or talking to people and interacting and stuff like that, doing different things. Like that's what I've been trying to do. So yeah, anyways. I'll be interested. Hopefully you guys can let me know like what happens in the next month with you guys, about this solar eclipse and everything. And I'm definitely going to be updating people too, because I'm really interested to see exactly what happens. I've been getting insights. I am really curious to see if almost all of those are right that I've been given. So anyways, yeah, hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I need to go because I have been talking for 2 hours. It's a fucking long time. And yeah, I need to leave or whatever. Okay, bye. Have a good day.